Welcome back, Algebra. Mrs. Davidson here. We are going to do a lot of graphing today, so you're going to need to get a writing utensil and some paper. Before we begin actually getting into the lesson, we're going to recall what it is that we've already learned how to do. And we've been graphing for a while now. You actually have graphed linear equations just to graph them. We have used graphing of linear equations to solve for systems of equations. And now we're going to use those same skills of graphing a linear equation to help us graph inequalities. But what I need from you to do right now, after you have your writing utensil and some paper, is pause the video, and the first part of this assignment is to go ahead and answer the questions based on this equation, y equals negative 57x plus 3. What is the slope? What's the rise, the run, the direction? Is it steep? Is it shallow? It's in slope-intercept form, so what is the intercept? And what information does x and y tell us? So pause the video, go ahead and answer all of those questions based on that equation. Perfect. So our slope is that m in our y equals mx plus b form. We know then that our slope is that coefficient. That is our m. So our slope is negative 5 over 7. We know that another way to write slope is rise over run. So that numerator of negative 5 is our rise, and the denominator of 7 is our run. We know that this negative tells us the direction, and that negative part of the 5 over 7 tells us that it's a negative direction, or it's going to point to that negative side. And we know then that the 5 over 7 is the actual fraction or coefficient, and because 5 over 7 is less than 1, we know that it's going to be shallow. So we can determine all of that information just based on m. Our b is our actual y-intercept, right? That slope was everything in orange. The b is the actual beginning point, or the y-intercept. We take the sign with it, and that says that our y-intercept, or our b, equals 3. We also say that that b is our beginning point, and we would write that as 0, 3. Our actual y's and x's, that tells us any point, location on the line. That line in particular. Perfect. Good job and good memory. So our whole opportunity to learn today is we are going to graph the inequalities. We graph those inequalities by using those precisions, those details that we've already learned about with the y equals mx plus b, and we're going to add just a couple of details to that. We've already done the review. We need to recall some symbols. We're going to put it all together, and then your assignment is the actual practice. Okay, so all of these symbols come back into play again. And recall from our last lesson in the first video of the 2, we actually went over all of those meanings. So I'm going to have you pause the video, and I'm going to have you answer the 4 questions that are below. So you're going to write what every single one of those symbols mean. I want you to circle which ones are used for just the number line. I want you to tell me which symbols are used for inequality statements. And I want you to tell me which of these symbols are used for the linear portion of them. So pause the video and go ahead and answer those questions. Okay, so the symbols, you should have what they all mean, right? Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. These are the symbols that are used for inequality statements. So the ones that are circled in green, those are used for inequality statements. That means the parenthesis, the open circle, or the brackets and the closed circle, those are used when we actually graph that inequality statement on a number line. So the blue is used for graphing on a number line, which by process of elimination means that either the dashed line or the solid line are what we would use when we graph linear inequalities. Now we're going to actually take these two and we're going to work through them all the way. These are going to be your two examples. And this is going to pull everything that we have learned all together and give you just two extra little bitty steps of what needs to happen to actually make them work for inequality's sake. So go ahead and pause the video again and take a moment and graph these out on your paper, so that we can work through them together. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to pull out all the vital information that I already know, just based on what these equations or inequalities are saying. This tells me that I know that my slope is -2. It's going to point in the negative direction. My rise is -2. My run is 1. And it also tells me that my b is -2, or I can write that as 0, -2. So I know where I'm going to start, I know how I'm going to count, and now I'm going to actually graph in some points so I can see where this goes. All right, so I'm going to put in the point 0, -2. That's my beginning point. I'm done. I know that it needs to go into the negative direction, right? So it goes in the negative x direction. The top of my line or inequality will actually point there. Perfect. So we're going to count up from our beginning point, 1, 2. We're going to go over to the left just once. I'm going to do that again from the new point. We're going to count up 2 and over to the left 1. I'm also going to go back to that beginning point, and instead of going up and to the left, I'm going to go ahead and go down 2 and over to the right 1. So this is where our inequality changes things a little bit. We need to look at that symbol. That symbol has a greater than or an equal to. And because it has that equal to, that means I'm going to draw in my line as a solid line. It also means that I need to actually have this be everything that fits in that inequality statement. So I'm going to look at that beginning point of -2, and I'm going to say that my symbol is greater than or equal to. So that means everything that's above that -2 is greater than. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in everything I need right there. And that tells me that any of those points within that shaded area will make this inequality statement true. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do this again with the second one, but what I'm going to have you do instead is it says it's less than or equal to, and we're just going to make it say less than. Let's have it just be less than this time so we can see some differences, okay? So again, we're going to look at what our slope is, and our slope is -1/3. That means we know it's going to go in the negative direction. We know our rise is -1. Our run is 3. It says that my beginning point is +1, so that would be 0, 1. And that my symbol, we just changed that, is just less than. Okay, we have all the information we need right here. So I'm going to go ahead and start at +1. Again, I need to go to that negative direction. Ooh, I would not have gotten any points because those were not labeled. And I now need to do the slope. So I'm going to rise 1, go to the left 3. I'm also going to go at that beginning point and go the opposite direction. So down 1 and to the right 3. Okay, now we have that symbol of less than. Because that symbol of less than does not have the equal underneath, I'm going to now put this in as a dashed line. That tells me, hey, we actually are just looking at the things that are less than this. So we're going to start in that starting point of 1, And everything less than 1 is going to be right there or underneath it. So we're going to graph in everything underneath. And when I say graph in, that means we're shading. So the 2 extra components that you need to remember with inequalities is knowing what that symbol is, if it's going to be a solid line or a dashed line, and then not forgetting how to shade. So you have an assignment that is a PDF file, and it has problems 3 through 12. You are going to pick any, I think I said 7 or 8 of those to do. And then the required bonus is problem 13 and 14. That PDF actually has the answer key attached so you can check your answers. So you're going to add your notes from this video and that assignment to turn into me. That's it for now. Enjoy your day and we'll chat again later. Bye.